Why some countries refuse to celebrate Christmas on December 25th. We usually think of a calendar as something neutral, just a way to count days, just dates on paper. But if that were really true, Christmas wouldn't be celebrated on different days. The fact that millions of people celebrate Christmas on January 7th isn't really about the date. It points to a much deeper conflict, a conflict between systems and tradition. For centuries, Europe lived according to the Julian calendar, a system created back in the Roman Empire. For its time, it worked well enough, but it wasn't perfect. The Julian year was slightly longer than the actual solar year. The difference was tiny, almost invisible, but over centuries it added up. Holidays slowly drifted. Religious dates no longer aligned with the seasons they were originally tied to. By the 16th century, it became clear the calendar no longer matched reality. Western Europe decided to fix it. That's how the Gregorian calendar was introduced, more accurate, better aligned with astronomy. From a logical point of view, the decision made complete sense. But the calendar change wasn't just about time, it was about principle. Accepting the new calendar meant accepting one idea. If a system is inaccurate, it can and should be replaced. For some countries, this was a natural step. For others, it was unacceptable, and this matters. Countries that kept the Julian calendar didn't reject progress. They rejected the idea that progress automatically means replacing tradition. They didn't move Christmas. They kept it where it had always been. What changed was the world around it. Today, the difference between the calendars is 13 days. That's why Christmas on January 7th is celebrated in places like Serbia, Russia, Belarus, Georgia, North Macedonia, Montenegro, and some Orthodox communities elsewhere. What unites these countries isn't geography and not politics, it's their relationship with tradition. If you look closer, another pattern becomes obvious. Almost all of these countries are shaped by Orthodox culture. This matters not as a question of faith, but as a way of thinking. In these societies, tradition is often treated not as historical heritage, but as a fixed norm, something that isn't meant to be questioned, even when conditions change, even when more accurate systems exist. The shift to the Gregorian calendar was not ideological, and it wasn't an attack on religion, it was based on science. The Julian calendar was inaccurate, and this was proven by observation and calculation. Western societies accepted this and corrected the error. This wasn't about belief, it was about common sense. A calendar is a tool. If a tool doesn't work properly, you replace it. In many Orthodox societies, this logic was not accepted, not because the science was wrong, but because form mattered more than function. But here's where the explanation becomes uncomfortable. Greece, often considered the cradle of Orthodox Christianity, celebrates Christmas on December 25th. The Greek Orthodox Church acknowledged the inaccuracy of the Julian calendar and adopted the more precise system, without abandoning faith, without losing identity. This leads to a simple conclusion. Christmas on January 7th is not a religious requirement, it's a cultural choice, and the logic becomes even more contradictory. Most countries that celebrate Christmas on January 7th celebrate New Year with the rest of the world on December 31st using the Gregorian calendar. Champagne, alcohol, meat, large festive tables. No 13-day difference, no old calendar. Yet according to religious tradition, Christmas is preceded by a 40-day fast, a fast that includes abstaining from meat and alcohol. But New Year's Eve, just 6 days before Christmas, is almost never treated as a fasting day. People celebrate freely. And then, a few days later, Christmas arrives as if nothing happened. From a rational perspective, this doesn't look like strict devotion, it looks like selective tradition. The calendar is preserved as a symbol. The fast exists as an idea, but practice adjusts to convenience. Once again, this brings us back not to religion, but to cultural logic. If science, calendars, and religious rules are applied selectively, what is actually considered sacred? Meaning or habit? This is why the conversation about January 7th, Christmas, never ends with the date itself. It leads to a far more uncomfortable question. In the end, Christmas on January 7th is not a matter of faith and not a matter of theology. It's a symptom of societies that consistently prefer the old to the new, the familiar to the verifiable, and preserving form over correcting systems. The Julian calendar remains not because it's better, but because it's familiar. And that, not the date itself, best explains why some societies easily revise their foundations, while others continue to live as if time itself has no right to change. If a system for measuring time is proven to be inaccurate, should it be preserved simply because it's old?